Yes, good morning, friends. So, today we are going to see another important topic, that is universal social security, right? So, everybody talks about social security and it is a basic human right. In fact, Supreme Court also said it is a fundamental right. So, let us try to understand what is social security, right? What is social security and what are the implications of it, and even after 75 years of India's independence, why India is failing to provide social security for most of the Indians, right? In other words, what are the reasons, what are the obstacles, what are the hindrances before the government of India to provide social security for all, right? Because we all know that in Indian constitution, in DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy, it's mentioned as the government being a welfare state. It means it is the responsibility of the government to take care of everyone, to provide a decent life, a dignified life, a decent life, which is a part of Article 21, fundamental rights. So, India being a welfare state, why the government is not able to provide social security for all? Right? This is one question we are going to see today. And similarly, recently Rajasthan, the first state who passed an act, that is a Gig Workers Act. I repeat, Gig Workers Act 2023 recently passed. Let us understand what does act, what is that act, and similarly what is the way forward with a question, right? So without delay, let us begin the discussion. But once again, do subscribe and share the video and have your comments, right? So let us begin the class without delay. What is social security, right? So please listen. If you look at social security, the first element of social security is dignified life. You got the point, right? A dignified life. My question is, when do you get a dignified life, right? So when do you get a dignified life? That is the first question. So please listen. A person is able to express his full potential. A person is able to express his full potential only when the person is educated, that is quality education, affordable health care, clean drinking water, similarly nutritious food, access to electricity. It means, in other words, all his basic needs are met. You got the point, right? If his basic needs are not met, then definitely his potential is not expressed completely. You got the point, right? It means to to, to harness his complete potential, it is the responsibility of the government to provide all these basic needs in an affordable and accessible manner. Got the point? These are the basic needs, and it is the and you cannot deny them. You cannot deny them. The government responsibility. That is why it's paramount. So, in other words, please listen. Throughout the world, in fact, India is the only country which is experiencing a demographic dividend. So please listen, let us understand the concept of demographic dividend. India has working age population, a young population, right? In the age group of 15 years to 59 years, right? It means India by 2040, almost 60% of India's population is in the age group of 15 to 59 years, right? It means young working age population. Now the point is, when are you going to utilize this potential? This is a human resource, right? This is a huge human resource India has. In fact, the China has a aged population. The developed countries like America, Europe, they have aged population, but India has a unique opportunity. It's a great opportunity, right? Now the question is, when do you reap that opportunity? When do you utilize that opportunity in a productive way, right? That is the question. So the answer is, when you provide them quality education, skilling, affordable health care, and all other basic needs like a clean drinking water, nutritious food, quality jobs are created, right? So that is why social security implies a dignified life for all, right? A basic dignified life for all. That is the reason government is implementing Jal Jeevan Mission for clean drinking water, right? A piped drinking water, for every household by 2024. That is Jal Jeevan Mission. Similarly, Ayushman Bharat Yojana. We all know that Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat Yojana. It refers to providing some tertiary care, secondary care, other than some Ayushman wellness centers. Ayushman wellness centers for primary care treatment, and for secondary and tertiary treatments, it provides some insurance cost of almost some 5 lakhs per family per household, right? Per annum. Now the point is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, quality education also. So without quality education, affordable health care, please listen, human capability cannot be expressed. You know the Amartya Sen approach of human capability, right? Human capability is built only when quality education, affordable health care is given, right? That is the reason India, being a welfare state, it should not forget these basic needs, right? This is the first element of social security. And the second element of social security, please listen, we all know that more than 90% of our workforce is engaged in unorganized sector, right? Unorganized sector means it can be domestic servants, it can be street vendors, it can be auto rickshaw wallahs, right? It can be construction workers, it can be gig workers also, platform workers like Uber drivers, Ola drivers. These are all unorganized sectors. These are all unorganized sectors. So it is the responsibility of the government to protect them from exploitation or from low wages or from long working hours. So it is the responsibility of the government to protect them, to create a safety net for them, a social safety net. In other words, please listen, if some worker in unorganized sectors, if they have some accident, right, it means they need insurance, right? They need some insurance, that is accidental insurance or life insurance. Or after retirement, what do they need? Pension, right? It means, in other words, please listen, pension, insurance, it can be life insurance or accidental insurance or some other welfare benefits depending on the occupation. These are all part of social security, right? So the point is here, in India there are some disabled, it can be disabled because of accident or widowed woman. We all know that once the breadwinner, once the husband died because of accident, the whole family comes to streets. Once again, a widowed woman also needs some income, right? Similarly, some, it can be weaker sections also, elderly people also. That is the reason we have a particular scheme called as a National Social Assistance Program. Right? It has been there since 1970s. But the problem here is it provides only 200 rupees per month. Right? The pension is just 200 rupees per month, which is a very meager. It cannot address even the needs of our inflation also. You know the tomato price or onion prices, right? So the amount in National Social Assistance Program is too low, right? Similarly, we have some other schemes like Atal Pension Yojana, a social security scheme, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bhima Yojana, which is an accident insurance scheme. Similarly, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bhima Yojana, which is a life insurance scheme. See, please listen. The problem with all these welfare schemes is these are all voluntary schemes. What the point? It means the worker may enroll, may not enroll. It is his option. It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory for the worker to enroll in these schemes. So it is not mandatory means they are not coming forward and enrolling, right? Because these are all voluntary. Do you remember this point? These are all voluntary schemes. That is the reason we do not have data also, right? We will come to that point. So let me summarize what is social security. So social security implies providing some dignified life for all the people, particularly to the vulnerable sections like street vendors or the people who are engaged in unorganized sectors, by providing pensions, insurance or other welfare benefits, right? So that they can have some dignified life, right? Dignified life is the core point because that is a fundamental right of Indian Constitution. So let us understand why we are not able to provide the social security for 95% of the people, right? The formal employees, if you look at the formal employees, that 5 to 8% of the formal employees, they have social security. They have social security. The only problem lies with the unorganized sector, who are the major chunk, almost 95%. So let us understand why we are not able to universalize the social security. Right? Anyway, do not say, sir, the government has no benefits. There is no funds. It is not the reason. Government has no funds is like abdicating the responsibility. Right? Government cannot abdicate the responsibility. So because they are almost contributing 95%, and the unorganized sector contribute 50% of GDP. Unorganized sector contribute 50% of GDP and almost some 95% of employment share. So it is not a small figure. You can forget about it, right? So let us understand the issues of universality, right? Issues of the problems, the challenges, why we are not able to universalize this social security for everyone, right? So the first point I've already mentioned, that is lack of database. There is no data. Who is an unorganized sector? Who is a street vendor? Who is a construction workers? It means what? There is no registration happening right now. Got the point, right? In unorganized sectors, the registration is not done, right? It can be contract workers, it can be platform workers, it can be freelancers. Generally, the data is not maintained. If the data is not there, then definitely, even the data is there also, the employer is not giving it to the government. Even the data is there, the employer is not giving it to the government, so that the person also does not want to come under the purview of government, right? Because they know the government may impose some premium on the employer, because of which they do not provide the data also. So the problem is lack of database with employees, right? Number two, please listen. See, since GST, Goods and Service Tax Act, we're all talking about formalization, right? We're all talking about formalization, cashless economy, demonetization, goods and service tax, but still we are not able to completely formalize the informal sector. You got the point, right? The point is here, most of the people do not have awareness. It can be digital literacy or financial literacy. They're not able to understand their rights, right? Once they are not organized, please listen, once they're not organized, once their voice is not collective, definitely they cannot make their voices heard, right? If they are all collectively assertive in their voice, definitely the government will also listen. Just like the government employees, you see the OPS versus NPS, old pension scheme. In Rajasthan or Punjab, the governments are promising to provide old pension scheme to only 5% of formal employees. Right, formal employees, government employees only 5 to 10%. Government is ready to provide OPS, because the reason is they're all organized. They're all organized. Their voice is collective. Once the voice is collective, definitely the government also comes down because of votes. They get some votes. But here in 90% of workforce who are in the unorganized sector, they are all not organized. That is the reason we need the mobilization of all these workers, so that their voice is collective, right? And the another point is, in India, we often see labor laws are rigid. Labor laws are rigid means the employer, the company does not want to grow. Why? Because once they are grown means the government impose on them many restrictions. So that is the reason they always want to remain small only. Let us remain small only, so that I can escape the labor laws of rigidity labor laws, right? Because of rigid labor laws, most of the times the employee and employer relationship is not established formally. You got the point, right? So there is no formal relationship between employer and employee because of this rigid labor laws, right? So these are all some issues, some critical issues regarding universality of social security. So let us understand how Rajasthan addressed these issues. Recently, they passed a particular act, or it is an act now, because it passed in the assembly, Rajasthan Assembly, Gig Workers Act 2023. So we all know Uber and Ola, right? They are drivers, Uber and Ola drivers, and their company Uber or Ola. You know what do they say? The drivers are not employees, the drivers are partners. You know, right? Partners. We are all partners. It means, if suppose, let us consider the drivers as partners. Do the companies share any profits with them? I repeat, sir, do the companies like Uber and Ola share any profits to the drivers? Answer is no. We all know that this is no, right? It means they are employees only. What is the point? They are employees only, but unfortunately they are considered as not employees, right? To correct this imbalance, or to provide some grievance redressal mechanism for the employees, Rajasthan has brought in this Gig Workers Act 2023. Right, gig workers, it can be platform workers, it can be contract workers, freelancers, right? It can be Uber, Ola, Zomato, you know, right? All these are the digital. They provide a particular platform. So that they can establish relationship between producer and consumer through these intermediary drivers, right? Intermediaries. So please listen, Rajasthan government, please listen here. Earlier, one of the issues is there is no database, right? There is no database of all the employees. Now it addressed this problem through creating a welfare board, right? A welfare board is created in which registration of employers and employees is mandatory. What the point? Registration is mandatory. Once the registration is mandatory means now we have the data. To provide the welfare schemes. You can be welfare schemes, it can be pension, it can be insurance, right? So we have the data. And employers are mandated, please listen, employers are mandated to provide, to transfer a particular amount for every transaction to a particular fund, right? A social security fund, a welfare fund is created in which both employers and employees needs to contribute. You got the point? Just like EPF, just like we all know, but EPF is only for formal employees, but now a welfare fund is separately created through a particular act in which the employer and employee needs to contribute their premiums, right? And finally, once the employee after retirement or in some accident or some health benefits, they get out of this welfare fund, they get some benefits, right? They get some benefits. And please listen, in this welfare board, all the stakeholders, it means employer, employee, government, similarly some civil society, all are represented. All are represented so that the decision is taken fairly on the basis of consensus, right? On the basis of consensus or in the fair manner, all stakeholders are duly represented, right? So that the health of workers or their occupational safety or any some pensions or insurance are all covered, right? In this Rajasthan Gig Workers Act. And in India, Rajasthan is the first state to pass this kind of act, because we all know that gig economy is booming in India. Gig economy is booming in India, as said by Niti Aayog also last year in June 2022, I think, right? So let us understand the limitations. Let us understand the limitations of this Rajasthan Act. There are some limitations, right? So you cannot say this is a panacea. You cannot say this is a solution for of all the problems of employees. It's not like that. Still, there are some problems. The first limitation is, please listen, the first limitation is, even today also, the wage provided by the employers, the wage provided by Uber or Ola or Zomato, it is not a decent wage. It is not a decent wage or living wage, because the employees are saying they are working some 16 hours per day, 16 hours or 18 hours per day, and the wage is also too low. Wage is also too low, and the hours are also so long working hours. Just now I mentioned 16 hours per day, 18 hours per day, and the wage is also very low. And they abruptly or arbitrarily terminate the employee's job. You got the point, right? They are abruptly terminating the employee's job means there is no grievance redressal mechanism. Why I am fired? You got the point, right? Why I am fired? Because the company or the employer is not providing any reason. They just taken the decision. You got the point, right? It means what? They are putting the job of employees that is completely insecure condition, right? So even today also, arbitrary termination of Uber drivers or Ola drivers happens quite frequently, right? So let us understand the way forward. So please listen, Pradhana Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana of 2014. We all know that it is not only about opening bank accounts. We all know that it provides bank accounts. Today, in fact, almost all of the population, almost recently, it registered a record also in opening bank accounts, particularly at the time of demonetization. But the point is, the major objective of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana is about creating financial literacy. Financial literacy. It means the customers, the depositors should understand the variety of financial services. Not only about opening a bank account, but also having a credit, how to use the credit in a productive manner. What the point? It can be credit services, it can be insurance services, or all other financial services needs to be understood by the customer. Right? That is about financial literacy. So to bring in this financial literacy, there is a huge responsibility of Anganwadis or women self-help groups. We need to bring in these women self-help groups to have this awareness of financial literacy. In fact, we all know that, just already mentioned in a Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana or Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, which are micro insurance schemes, most of the people generally do not enroll. I repeat, most of the people generally do not enroll because they are voluntary schemes, right? So it is a responsibility of Anganwadis or women self-help groups to persuade the people, to convince the people about the benefits of these schemes, so that they also enroll, after understanding these benefits. Similarly, e-Shram portal also, in this e-Shram portal also, the laborers, in the unorganized sectors, they can enroll. But the thing is, again, here it is voluntary, not mandatory, right? Government should have done mandatory from the point of view of employers, right? So things should have done differently. So Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, financial literacy, it's about bringing in awareness about the variety of financial services to the different people, right? So let us wind up the class with a question. The question is, social security is elusive. Elusive means even today also it's very difficult to get it, right? So most of the Indians, they're not able to receive social security benefits. Analyze, right? Social security is elusive for most of the Indians. Analyze, do comment in the comment section. You can quote some articles also, article 41, article 42 of the DPSP, Direct to Pension State Policy, what is all about social security, right? Social security is there in DPSP, right? Not only in article 21 of right to life and personal liberty. Let us wind up this class and do subscribe and share the video, right?